What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I will be showcasing my all-new vinyl listening setup. Since it's the new year, I figured I would give you guys a huge update in terms of what I'm listening to my records on. Ever since 2021, the Audio Technica LP120 was my trusty turntable, providing me plenty hours of listening enjoyment. And I have to say, it fulfilled its purpose on both sides of the coin, since I do consider myself an audiophile who enjoys the likes of MoFi and analog productions, but I can also appreciate bootleg recordings of various degrees of quality. Now, as for the former, I knew that there were better options out there to listen to those higher-end pressings, and I knew that I would eventually upgrade, but it wasn't so much of a pressing matter to immediately jump on it. Yet here we are at the start of a new year, and I was graced with all new Rega gear, which consists of their Planar 3 turntable, their Fono MM MK5 Preamp, and their Neo power supply. All of this couldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Michael Fremer and his business partners over at trackingangle.com for literally gifting me this setup. I started writing for Tracking Angle back in mid-2023, and it was almost kind of by accident because Michael and I had connected via LinkedIn, just talking about career moves and how he got to where he is, because Fremer is someone that I respect highly in the vinyl industry, and he was quick to offer me a spot as a columnist for his newly revived Tracking Angle website. And since then, I have contributed on a regular monthly basis, and thanks to his sort of mentorship, I have become so much more of a better writer, and in turn, the work is almost effortless given how much I love music and how passionate I am regarding vinyl, sound quality, etc. It's almost no different to what I do here on YouTube, minus the notion of having to be on camera. So once again, thank you, Michael, and everyone over at trackingangle.com for making this happen. And if you head on over to the website, you can read my work as well as other pieces by so many other talented contributors to the site. This is a huge deal, and I wanted to document this, so I'm going to guide you guys through getting this set up, out of the boxes, getting it all connected and hooked up. Let's get unboxing. Upon opening the box and getting all the packing paper out, we have the reference EBLT belt, which is recommended to use instead of the stock belt that comes with the turntable, but I'll most likely save this as a replacement when the time comes. Each component of this setup, between the turntable, preamp, and power supply, is safely packed in their own boxes, and I'll take out the smaller ones to get the larger one in the bottom, which is for the turntable. Each component is sealed with loose plastic bags and sandwiched in between two thick styrofoam pieces. We'll take off the dust cover first, which bears the Rega logo in the middle, and there's also the instruction manual for how to get this turntable from box to setup. Then we have this cardboard folder, which is sealed up with tape, and upon opening, we have the acrylic platter and black felt slip mat. Do as I say, don't do as I do. You might want to wear gloves so you don't get your fingerprints on the platter, since it'll come across big time. Then inside the styrofoam piece is the counterweight, and here we have the plinth, which has a piece of cardboard in between the spindle piece that holds the platter. They also included the Neo MK2 power supply. This is one of the smaller boxes, and upon opening it, we have the instruction manual. You lift this piece of cardboard up, and here it is. On the front, there's the power button and the speed switch button. The back side has an output for the DIN cable that connects between the turntable and this box, and the program selector for any speed adjustments you make with this little speed adjustment tool, which you insert in the back of the box to adjust the speed slightly if it happens to be off. Also included is the DIN lead cable and the power supply. Let's tackle the Fono MM MK5 Preamp. Same deal as before, open up the box and you have the instruction manual, the preamp itself in plastic, the front featuring a simple power button, and the backside having dedicated RCA inputs and outputs along with a ground post. Also included is the power supply. I also received a pair of Conair RCA to RCA interconnect cables, which are treated with AVO deep cryo technology. These cables, which average at $20 per channel, are the most deluxe cables I've seen, just down to thickness and the shielding. It makes the stock RCA cables that come with most turntables look feeble in comparison. These will work out perfectly with my new updated system. Since I'm working with slightly limited space, the turntable is going to sit on top of my Onkyo receiver, and both the power supply and preamp will be stacked as well to the side. First up, I'll take the DIN lead cable and connect it from under the back of the turntable to the output of the Neo power supply. This allows you to switch the turntable speed from 33 to 45 in just the push of a button without having to remove the platter and move the belt on whichever pulley groove corresponds with which speed. For the power supply, you'll use the PS1 AC adapter. As for connecting the Planar 3 to the Fono MM MK5, there are RCA cables already integrated in the back end of the turntable, and those will be connected to the inputs of the preamp. It's worth mentioning that there is a ground post on the back of the preamp, but it didn't come with any grounding cables, so I took a spare one that I had and connected it from there to the ground post on my Onkyo receiver. Now here is where the Canare cables come into play. Since my receiver already has a dedicated phono input, I connected the preamp outputs to the CD inputs, and as for power supply, you'll use the PS1 adapter. So let's get the platter onto the turntable, which I have to say has a good bit of weight to it and is the most deluxe turntable platter I've ever encountered. Even though it came with a felt mat, I'm not too particularly fond of using them since they attract dust and could damage your stylus, so I'm basically going bareback with no mat of any sort on the platter. Then let's loosen the protective factory seals on the tone arm as well as the cartridge. Now this turntable already came pre-mounted with an ND5 cartridge, and while knowing how to properly install and align a turntable cartridge is an important but finicky process, having it already aligned by the manufacturer saves me a headache in the long run. Now let's set the tracking force, and the way that it's set up on this turntable is different compared to other models. The counterweight doesn't have any markings, and it's mainly set to where you turn it in place where the tone arm floats at an even angle. Then you go to the tracking force dial and turn it to the appropriate area. Since the recommended tracking force for the ND5 is 1.75 grams, you want to turn it just before it hits the 2 mark. This process is trial and error, so it wouldn't hurt to have a digital scale to double check your work. It takes some patience and perseverance, but you'll certainly get there. Underneath the tone arm is the slidable anti-skate dial, and you want to get it to be the same as the tracking force dial. Before we slide the dust cover in place, I want to make mention of these plinth protectors. They are adhesive rubber pieces that you place in the top corners of the dust cover. That way there aren't any scratches on the surface of the plinth as you bring the dust cover down. So we'll put those on and slide the dust cover into place. We'll turn on the power supply and preamp, and underneath the turntable towards the front left is the power switch, which turns the turntable on, and you're off to the races. Real quick, I had this set up exactly as you just saw it, but I ran into some speed troubles with the Neo power supply. Turntable was running at about 20 RPM when it should have been running at 33 1/3. I tried using the speed adjustment tool just in case that would have fixed the issue, but it did not. Could be an electrical issue, could be a voltage issue. So I took that component out of the setup and I just connected the PS2 power adapter from the back of the turntable. And for speed changes, I'll have to take the platter off and just use the pulley grooves of the motor, which honestly doesn't bother me too much. So there you guys go. That is my all new vinyl listening setup, or I should say immense turntable setup upgrade, consisting of the Rega Planar 3 turntable, the Fono MM MK5 Preamp, and the Neo power supply. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.